What is going on, everybody? Hold on, let me finish it. There's so much going on right now. My goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Let me go ahead and put this tweet out. What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday to you. It is your main man, your drunk unk, kind of doing a breaking news thing. I know some of you guys are usually expecting me on a Wednesday night at 9 p.m. to kind of do our things. I kind of wanted to tweet out and let you guys know, like, hey, we're going early today. You know, we can't wait until 9 o'clock. Like, when the news happens, the news drops, we have got to be here. We've got to react. So drunk unk is getting pushed up a few hours, which means I haven't had a chance to even have a drink. But hopefully you're having a celebratory drink. And welcome back to your drunk unk / breaking news / here we are talking about the SEC. We got a lot to discuss, a lot that's going on. Cannot wait to get into all of our topics today. I got a lot to unload. I got a lot for us to get to. But before I get too far down the road, and I appreciate all you guys, everyone joining in, this whole show is brought to you by my main man, Eric Sells Homes, DFW. That's El Presidente himself. If you are looking for a home in the DFW area, if you're looking to sell a home, looking to buy a home, my man, El Presidente, he's got you covered. You go ahead and contact him at Eric Sells Homes, DFW. Hey, school is out. School is out. School's out for summer, right? So it's time for you guys to go ahead and relocate. You know, go ahead and move into the districts. My main man, Eric, he's got you covered. Make sure you hit up El Presidente, Eric Sells Homes, DFW. He's the man. He may be on here later. I don't know. Tom G might be on here later. I don't know. But we will definitely get to it. But it's Wednesday, which means it's Wednesday, June 14th. Happy SEC Day. How about that? Happy SEC Day for you guys. We're going to get into the schedule in a second and be able to talk about all the stuff. Can I just start off by saying a couple of things? Let me give you a couple of backgrounds about it before we get into the nitty-gritty of the schedule and we kind of start breaking this whole thing down, right? No matter what you got, no matter what anyone thinks, and no matter what anyone says, you got to admit, the SEC is kind of badass, right? You've got to admit that the SEC is kind of badass to be able in June to do a schedule release show for something in 2024 before the 2023 season even occurs. That's some major stuff, right? You've got to admit, like it's almost, and some of the things I'm going to write for Sunday, because it's almost like an NFL kind of thing. It's almost got an NFL kind of feel where you have a schedule release. I was thinking about today. I was thinking to myself, when is there the Big 12? Have you ever been excited about a schedule release in the Big 12? And look, I don't want to crap on the Big 12 too much because I don't want them to revoke my credentials or something like that this year. But I've never been excited about anything about, oh, there's going to be a Big 12 schedule release. You're like, whoa. Oh, yeah, I can't wait to find out when Texas is at West Virginia. Like, no, you don't really care. But I understand this is kind of something fresh that's kind of new. But even the Big 12. Like, the Big 12 isn't doing a Big 12 schedule release for 2024, or at least they're not doing anything that's being televised. You know what I'm saying? So for the SEC to be able to drop this in June as a flex to say, yeah, we just want to let everybody know this is what we're about to do down the line with Oklahoma and Texas. Like, they could have waited till after the season and done this. Talk about a flex. So that's badass for one. I'm just going to start there. You got to be impressed with what the SEC is doing. Second thing that's really interesting, though, I don't know if you got if you don't follow me on Twitter, man, what's wrong? But if you don't follow me on Twitter, please do. One of the things that I tweeted out, because before this whole thing happened, I want to say somewhere around like 5:20 tonight, so Wednesday, right? So somewhere around 5:20, I get a text message and stuff, and they're like, "Hey, man, look. This whole thing about the SEC and this thing and all that kind of stuff, that's cool. But I just want to let you know that, and I want to pass this along to you, Unk, that Sarkisian is focused on that 2023 season. And I know that you guys are going to talk about Anwar. I know what you got to do. You got a job to do, this and that. But please let it be known that Sark's focus is on Twitter. And then I get on Twitter and I realize Sark has actually tweeted about the 2023 schedule for the Big 12, right? So there's that fight that Sark is going to have, right? Because it's funny. I was talking to it was at the SEC spring meetings, right? And had a conversation with Del Connie, and he said something to me. He said, like, well, Anwar, you guys, you right, you talk about the SEC all the time, and you and Chip, and you guys are making this thing into a big deal, and we still got to worry about the Big 12. I was like, well, what made it into a big deal is that you guys decided to join the SEC. Like, I didn't make that into a big deal. I didn't make that happen, Chris. You made that happen. Therefore, you made it into a big deal. All I can do is report about it and talk about it, but I didn't do anything. Like, that was all. He's like, all right, Anwar, point well taken. And so there becomes kind of like the I won't say power struggle, and I don't want to say like whatever the word is. There's a word I'm looking for that I necessarily can't wrap my head around. But that's going to be the thing going forward, because I guarantee you guys, when I say guys, of course, I mean the ladies who are listening as well. But what I guarantee you, all we're going to hear is, what? Everyone's just focusing on the Big 12, right? That's all we're going to hear about. Everybody's focusing on the Big 12. No one's thinking about the SEC. We've heard it from Sark throughout the offseason, right? Hey, you guys are talking about this, but we're still here in the Big 12. We still got to worry about this. We can't worry about the SEC. That stuff is down the line. And that's true. But two things can be true, which is you can worry about that. And that's your job, right? That's your job as a coach. That's your job as a staff. That's your job inside that building to make sure all your players are focusing on this season and winning the Big 12. That's what you need. It's 100%. And good luck. And guess what? When the season rolls around, everybody who follows the Longhorns, that's going to be the focus. Hell, when we get around to August, that we'll be talking about that, right? And probably when we start to get the Big 12 media days in August, in July, actually, we'll probably have that conversation. But two things can be true, because the second thing is, and we're going to talk about the SEC. Like, that's your job, but it ain't my job. It ain't your job. It's your job as fans to be excited about your program, and you don't have to do one thing. It's kind of like sometimes, you see people in politics and they always talk about like, well, we need to do this. And then the other person's like, well, we need to do this. And it's like, you can't do two things at once. You don't have to just do one. You can do both. And so you can be excited about the SEC, but focusing on winning the Big 12. So I relayed the message, pass it along to everybody, pass it on to people on the Orangebloods, but also understand you guys are excited about the SEC. I'm excited about the SEC. We are talking, and we're going to get into it real soon. We're talking. This is what this juice is about. Like, we're talking about something that's over a year away, but it matters. It does. Okay, and then so really kind of excited about that, and I kind of wanted to let you guys know, kind of on the backdrop before we get into everything that just happened. So talked about the show, how badass that kind of was, and then of course, the conflict that you're going to hear, and kind of the shooting down, and it's going to be. Listen, just y'all do me a favor. Y'all do me a favor, just for your unk here, and before we get into the topic right now. When they start saying, the media, those guys are just, talking, blowing this thing out of proportion. Just remind them when it's on Twitter, social media, something like that. Just remind everybody that, no, it's not the media that created this. It's the SEC and the excitement of it that created it. And it's okay to be happy about it. This is so crazy. By the way, we do the shows like I've never done a show here at like 7:00. You guys can see some of the light coming in my house. It's so much different. Welcome back, man. It's so awesome. All right. Y'all are ready to get into this thing. Let's get into this thing. Blake, go ahead and put on the screen so we can start to have the conversation about what it's going to look like in 2024. Blake, keep it up for me. Please don't take it down for right now. We've got the 4 home games: Mississippi State, Kentucky, Georgia, Florida. You've got those programs who will be coming to DKR are, and we'll go ahead and talk about those programs in a second. And then the away games. And then we'll talk about, obviously it's going to be Oklahoma, but that's a neutral site game. So that's all semantics. That's just about what jersey you wear. At Texas A&M, at Arkansas, and at Vanderbilt when it's all said and done. So that kind of ends up being what it looks like. And I just want to make sure I have it covered for you guys so we have an understanding of what this entire opponent schedule is going to look like. And the schedule itself will be revealed at another date, okay? So this is just to know who the opponents are. So now go further than that. The home opponents in 2024 look like this: Colorado State, UTSA. One of the things that kind of got thrown in there that it was in like the press release is that Texas will also face Louisiana Monroe at home. That was announced today as an opponent. So we got, and then of course there's going to be, so you got Colorado State, UTSA, Louisiana Monroe, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, and Mississippi State. The away games, okay, Michigan, Arkansas, Oklahoma, which we say is a neutral site game, Texas A&M, and then Vanderbilt. Okay, that's what it looks like 2024. That's everybody that whole thing's looking up. Go ahead and take a screenshot of that. That's kind of awesome, man. Like, because the great job by Blake by putting those things up there. So let's get into the SEC. Well, let me before we get into SEC, I'll go, because this is going to be a shorter conversation. I'll go non-conference opponents first, and then we'll go ahead and get into the SEC. Remember that because the SEC decided that they were going to have 8 conference games in 2024, what did that mean? That, of course, that meant that Texas would also have their 8, but they also had 3 that were already built in, which left them a 1 game short. That's why you saw the addition of Louisiana Monroe today, at least the announcement of a Louisiana Monroe today, as far as a non-conference schedule. By the way, as a guy, if you've known me for any period of time, as a person who has not liked or cared for at all the non-conference schedule by Texas, this here, they got me. You will not hear me complain about the non-conference schedule going forward if this is what it's going to look like. I absolutely love this non-conference schedule. Why is that? Because it's been so long since Texas has started the season 3-0. I've hated it. And what the non-conference schedule, what happened was, when Texas A&M goes away, the powers that be say to themselves, okay, we got to figure out ways to make the ticket selling process more attractive to everybody, right? So they go ahead and they start scheduling, these tough the teams in some of these kills. So you get the BYUs of the world and the LSUs of the world, and of course the Alabamas of the world. And of course they had future schedules with Florida, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan rather. And I just said to myself, I think Arizona State's not a future. And I just like, man, you don't need that smoke. You don't need that smoke at all, because if you look at the SEC teams, most of the SEC teams, so if you look at their scheduling standpoint, they weren't scheduling killers. Like, look at their future schedules. They were not scheduling a lot of killers, even the Alabamas of the world. And so you're telling me in 2024, you got Colorado State, UTSA, Louisiana Monroe, and then Michigan. You got to like that. You've got to like that those wins. And it'll be interesting to see how Del Conte kind of schedules this thing going forward, and how the conference at least schedules this thing going forward. Like, will there be a runway going in? Will they mix and match some of these programs? Like, do you play like a UTSA or Louisiana Monroe before an Oklahoma? Do you try to do, a Colorado State and UTSA and then do a Michigan? Like, it'll be very interesting how's going forward. But that's the non-conference thing, and I like that. Okay, and then at least with your Michigans of the world, you play a team like that, and we'll get into it a little bit. But for if you are remember in 2024 that 12 teams get into the playoffs. So there's no longer like if you only have one loss, more than a loss or two, you don't have a shot to get in. You have a shot to potentially get in with three losses, right? Going forward. So all of a sudden, when you look at a program like a Michigan, and you say something, maybe that's a coin flip game. Even if you lose the coin flip, you still got an opportunity by being successful within the conference, right? So you have that going forward. And then one of the big things of having an 8-game schedule is that the conference, the SEC, they just want to see how strength of schedule, what does it mean for everyone in the conference? Like as far as getting into the playoffs, does the strength of schedule matter or does it not? Right. And then if it does matter, then okay, like it's they'll figure out what to do going forward. But if it doesn't, and it's just about the wins, then there will be no motivation going forward to have more than eight conference games and then everybody else do the 4 and to stack as many wins as you can. And for the SEC, the goal will be to get as many teams into the playoffs as possible, right? So that's kind of the backdrop for everything. So now you start talking about the games, and let's go ahead and let's start with the away games. Blake, can you put that back up for me again? Let's talk about the away games. And by the way, drinking my cup. Okay. The game against again OU, we'll just go ahead and get into that. Texas A&M, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt. Okay, so Vanderbilt for itself, let's just call that for us and our purposes a really nice trip to Nashville, right? Can we go ahead and just say what that is? A really nice trip to Nashville. You go ahead and take it down, Blake. Thank you so much. Because I like Nashville. Most of you people probably like Nashville. Really cool ass city for us to go to. So that's what the Vanderbilt trip ends up being. And it's it's a good trip for everybody. There's a Texas and of course the Arkansas game, which of course if you guys follow people on Twitter, I'm not afraid to give anybody props. So Chip Brown had that story, and props to him for being able to say that you got Texas A&M on the road, Arkansas on the road. I want to know first and foremost from you guys, yes or no, do you like it or not? Like Blake, go ahead and put that in the chat and let that be something for everyone to vote on if you can, Blake. Texas A&M and Arkansas on the road, thumbs up, thumbs down, however you want to do that. That's an interesting thing for me, because the Arkansas game, to me, first of all, gotta love that. First of all, props to the SEC, and this is what I appreciate about what they did. Even though we don't have the quote unquote 3 permanent rivals, right? That you're trying to see if that's what you can get with the 9 games. The SEC said, all right, well, you know what? We may not have 3 permanent rivals at this moment, but these guys are going to play. You got to love that. Like, you got to love what the SEC is saying. Like, all right, man, at the end of the day, A&M should play, Arkansas should play, and those teams should play, Texas, and of course, OU. And this is the thing, like when I spoke to the commissioner, Sankey, last year at the Big 12, excuse me. I'm going to go into so many off-season events, so please excuse me when they all start to run together. But I spoke to him at SEC media days last year. He told me it's very important for him to have the regional rivalries. And he felt like it's very important for the conference to be able to have these regional rivalries. And so going into the SEC spring meetings, that was one of the things that he still stayed on. Nearly a year later, he was still saying, this is important. This is an important thing to have. And he said, like, that's what he wants to have. And so what ends up being interesting in many ways is that, sure, they don't get the quote unquote 3 permanent rivals, 3 permanent games in the SEC, but they sure as hell made sure that the 3, for at least as relates to Texas, those were played in year 1, not wasting any time. And I love that he was able to do that. Now, like I said, we'd love to hear from you guys in the chat how you guys feel about going to Arkansas. Arkansas is an interesting one for me because Texas was just there. Like, Texas was just there just a couple of years ago. So you would think to yourself, why don't you just go ahead and allow this to happen? But I understand that if you're Texas and you're joining the league, you're brand new to the league, you've got to, if you're the SEC, you've got to reward your incumbent programs, right? And the last thing you can really do is say like, hey, I know that Texas is new, but we're going to go ahead and give them ... right? So it's fine. And wow, Blake is telling me that over 80% of you guys right now love having A&M in Arkansas on the road. Okay, I got to hear why. All right, tell me in the chat why you love having A&M and Arkansas on the road. And Blake will put up some of the best comments for me. If you have a super chat, you feel free. That option is there. You always go to the top of the list. But I want to hear why over 80% of you guys, people who told me, you guys told me I never want to go back to College Station. And for all those years when I say, man, Texas either play Texas A&M, you go on where I never want to be around those sheep herders again. And now all you guys are saying I can't wait to go there. I need to know why. By the way, I do. By the way, when we go to Arkansas, last time I was there is a really cool restaurant owned by a Longhorn fan. I believe it's called Orange. It's not in Fayetteville. It's in one of those cities that's outside of it. But there's anyway, we'll do a happy hour there. I'll contact him. We'll do a happy hour there. That's in 2024. So you get that, and then of course the rivalry with A&M, and then here becomes the big question. This becomes a big question as Texas and Texas A&M, a rivalry game that needs to be played. Like, I think we all understand that. There's only one question. There's only one question that I have as relates to that whole game. Who's going to be coaching A&M at that time? Only thing I want to know. It's all I want to know. That's all I care about at that point, because I got 2023, but what about 2024? I just want to know who's the coach of A&M at that time. Is it Jimbo? And if it is Jimbo, my goodness, here's what you can't have. If you want the nail in Jimbo's coffin, it's Steve Sarkisian leading the Longhorns into College Station and pulling off a win. Like, boom. That you could cancel Christmas at that point. You know what I'm saying? I hear you, Jake. You say you need Jimbo in there. And you might want to have some of that mediocrity at that point. But Texas, of course, now they get to go to obviously to Texas A&M right down the road. A rivalry that, let's be honest, I haven't never experienced. I got here in 2014. Never experienced this rivalry. Only heard about it. All I've heard from you guys is that you don't want to play it. But now we finally get to see it. And then, of course, the Arkansas on the road as well. Not a bad road trip. And then, for Texas, when it ends up being said, they end up having, how many home games does Texas end up having? Let's see. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 home games. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, that's not bad. Boy, I don't even know what the ticket price is going to look like. Season ticket price is going to look like in 2024. But boy, I don't know. You better find some sort. I don't know if crypto's still alive, but you're going to have to find something to be able to afford those things. But it still ends up being good. By the way, you know what? G Bama Boy is absolutely correct. At the end of the day, we'll get on to Texas, the home side as well. If there's anybody who should not be happy right about now, it's probably Oklahoma. If you're Oklahoma, you probably are wondering, like, man, this is some BS, because you really only have 3 games that are in Norman, because the Texas game ends up being a neutral game. And if you're the SEC, you tell yourself, that's not our problem. That's your problem. So if you guys want to play on a neutral site, that's on you. That has nothing to do with us. And then, of course, they have Tennessee at home, Alabama at home, and then South Carolina at home, which you're just kind of, okay, Tennessee, good team, good program. South Carolina, love the coach, really good dude. And have Alabama, and then they're away at Missouri, away at Ole Miss, away at Auburn, and away at LSU. So if you're Oklahoma and you only have 3 of the SEC opponents in year one at your field, even though you've got Bama, so they give you Bama, so they give you kind of a marquee thing. If you're OU, you still got to say to yourself, damn, that's that is not fun at all. You got to say to yourself, all right, I mean, y'all had to do us like that, but nonetheless, that happened. And so then I'm curious from the Oklahoma fans. I don't know what the Oklahoma fans have been saying, but I can't imagine they've been too thrilled about it. I gotta see. I gotta check and see what A&M has been saying as well. And there's always been. It's interesting when I was um, in Miramar Beach for the SEC spring meetings. One of the things that Texas A&M had said was that they knew that they were told that whenever the Texas plays Texas A&M plays Texas, when that rivalry is renewed, that it was going to be at Texas A&M at Kyle Field. And it's interesting because when talking to Del Conte about that, he had said, well, he had never heard that. And that was news to him. He said, well, they must, there's not a schedule out. So I don't know how they know that, but that was news to him. Well, clearly he clearly on that the game of telephone, he got the wrong memo and got the wrong message, because that ended up being 100% true. Texas A&M was actually 100% correct when they said when this rivalry is renewed, it will be in College Station. Which again, I understand. At the end of the day, Texas is joining, the SEC. You got to reward your member schools, and you just can't just go ahead and roll out the red carpet and tell everybody, hey, we're just this is Texas's league, and this is just all about Texas. No, it's just kind of a reminder, like, no, that's all right. A&M, you've been here, you've been loyal, even though A&M kind of went ahead and leaked some things allegedly in order to potentially derail Texas coming to the SEC, kind of how that thing kind of popped out before, allegedly, from A&M, But nonetheless, water under the bridge. Everyone gets over it. It's kind of like some people get over a spouse that cheats on them and they kind of move on. So this is what happens in this instance. And then there's the home games. So Blake, put up the home games and what Texas will have from a home perspective. And I see your super chat, Jay Call. I'll get to it in 1 second. But the home games, if you're Texas, you get Mississippi State, which is going to just be a good, fun game there. Kentucky, sneaky good team, sneaky good program. Like, that's going to be a really, really good game. Then Texas gets Georgia, which you've got to be excited about, having that team come here. Like, that's the last thing you want to do is have to go over there for that game. And then Florida gets to come here. So Texas doesn't have to go to the swamp, but they have the Florida Gators come over here. And Florida, let me tell you, as a Floridian, and thanks, Blake, as a Floridian, I can tell you that Florida, they travel well. Like, that's a program that travels really, really well. They've got good boosters. They've got some money, a lot of money in that program over there. So that's going to be a really exciting game. And I'm excited about that one just as a native Floridian, when there's always been that talk about, Texas versus Florida football. And there's always been, especially if you follow high school football, right? Because there's always been that Texas high school football versus Florida high school football versus California high school football, right? There's always been these conversations. So to have these two teams meet, these two big dogs, these two powerhouses, like, and thinking about, when we think about some of the greatest quarterbacks in college football history, and if we go to probably who some of the two best ones are, it's probably going to be Tebow. It's going to be VY, right? Or VY and Tebow. However you want to go with it. I don't get into the debate right now. Obviously, it's a Texas Longhorn Football Channel, so I know where you guys stand on that one, which is going to be VY. And so that kind of thing and that kind of rivalry getting started up, I think that is going to be pretty awesome. And of course, bringing Georgia in here and Kirby Smart and what they're able to do. Like, from a measuring stick standpoint, to be able to say, okay, you got Bama this season in 2023, and then you being able to bring Georgia in, you'll know. Like, you'll know after you play Bama how far away you are. And of course, some of these other programs, you'll have a really, really good clue as to how far away you are, to be able to have that. And so that's a hellified home schedule. That's a home schedule that I think Texas has been dreaming about having for years. Because when you think about what your home schedule has looked like over the past few years, some lean years, man. When you got the Kansas and the Kansas States, and we get towards the end of the year and people are just giving tickets away, or you get those things on StubHub or wherever for a really cheap price. That's not going to happen anymore. That's definitely not going to happen anymore. And then, it really boils down to, for me, guys, when we start thinking about the 2024 schedule, it really thinks, for me, starts with this. And I will now agree with everything Sarkisian has kind of been saying and Sarkisian has kind of been doing, which is, look, 2023 matters. And to get kind of on that runway, to get that head of steam, to get that momentum going, it does have to begin here in 2023. I've said this before, and I'll say this again, but I put this in air quotes. It will not get any easier for Texas conference title than it is this season. It will not get any easier for Texas to win a conference title than it will this season, because we know what the 2024 schedule looks like. We know that there's going to be a lot of games that, where we look at it now, right? And we look at it this season and we look at it, okay, Texas is going to be the favorite in every game except one this season, which will be the Alabama game, right? When we look at 2024, that's probably going to flip. You can see Texas, again, this is far out. Hell, Texas could go ball out this year, guys, and have a hell of a season. And everything I'm about to say right now gets, negated when it's all said and done, right? But if you are looking this far out, you look at the Georgias of the world, you look at the Floridas of the world, you look at Michigan, which is, of course, is not a conference game. We'll see where some of these other programs are at that time. Even Kentucky could be a really close kind of, coin flippish kind of game. It's going to get tough. Every game is going to be a fourth quarter game. Every game is going to be kind of the last few minutes. And so it's really all about a couple of things. And what you'll talk about, it's really going to be about getting this program going, getting the QB ready, getting your offensive line ready, getting the defense ready, all those things. Now, the good part is when I look at 2024, Texas is still going to have a good offensive line intact. They're going to have a defensive line that's intact. They'll be able to pick up a lot of key pieces for that 2024 season. But 2023, it really just becomes, when you start talking about momentum and getting ready to make that jump into that territory where you're ultimately going to be. It's coming around the corner. 2023. Is going to be paramount. It's going to be extremely, extremely important. Let's go ahead and get to the super chats. Blake, let me go ahead and knock some of those out. My man, Jake Hall in the house. Appreciate you, Jake Hall. He goes, you asked me a good question. Okay. In your time here, what has your observation of the Texas/OU versus Texas A&M hate-wise? In my opinion, I've always said I hate OU, but respect them. But I hate Aggie. Oh, let's be clear. In my time here, it was almost 10 years. Okay, so I never got a chance to experience this whole thing firsthand. The hate that A&M and Texas has for each other is far greater, in my opinion, than the hate that Texas and OU have for each other. I view Texas and OU as like a serious dislike, right? I view it like as a serious dislike. Now, you don't like each other, you don't really like to talk to each other, you don't really like to sit next to each other, but y'all will be in the same room together. Like you could kind of make this thing work. But when it comes to Texas and Texas A&M, It is a hate that is just that you guys make fun of their damn dog. You get this? I mean, like, you guys make fun of the dog. I'm still trying to explain the doggy cemetery to me that faces into the field, but I don't. But okay, yeah. So that whole thing, the guys wearing the what are those military cadet guys? I forget what those guys are, but you guys know what they do. You guys go after them hard. And by the way, and this is why I know the hate is great. Y'all mess with Billy Lucci so much. That pink dildo in his mouth. If I've had $1 for every time I've seen that GIF, that's why it's there. It hate so much, like that there was a refusal when there was times and opportunities to play in the Texas Bowl. You guys didn't want no parts of it. Neither side wanted any parts of it. Neither side wanted to F with each other at all. Neither side wanted to say, let's go ahead and schedule each other when it's all said and done. When A&M left, it was a middle finger to Texas and vice versa. And so, yeah, Jake, for me, yes, you guys dislike OU, and OU dislikes you guys, but hate? Oh, ain't no hate like Texas versus Texas A&M, and I'm so glad the rivalry is back. Let's go ahead and get into the other super chat as well. El Presidente, where the hell are you? Why are you not getting ready to come in? I don't even know what is going on. Where are you? Anyway, El Presidente, well done by the SEC. And notice that SEC portion to rekindle old school Southwest Conference rivalries and to send the 2-time SEC champs and the national champs to Austin. Fun times ahead. Fun times ahead indeed. By the way, I need you. When you going to come on or not? But yes, fun times ahead is definitely to be had. And look, at the end of the day, you know, you still get Georgia. And so that's you from a home draw, like that's not a bad thing to have, and really, to be quite honest with you, Eric El Presidente, when you start talking about like selling this thing to recruits and selling the whole move and all those other kind of things, like being able to sell that, and then hell, if you have any kind of luck, if you beat them, something like that, you can sell that to recruits really easily. So, if you're Texas, you kind of want that smoke. I'll be honest. You want that smoke. And you know why you want that smoke? Because you don't want anybody at the end of the day to say Texas went into the SEC and they played nobody. They played the weakest teams that the SEC had to offer. They just went down the list. And again, it's hard to find a bunch of weak teams in SEC, but you want to be able to say you either had Georgia or Alabama on the schedule. Like, you don't want to have a schedule that doesn't have either one of those programs, because you have a schedule that doesn't have either one of those programs, then everyone's going to say, can't take that serious, So, El Presidente, I hear what you're saying. If you're Texas, you want that smoke, and you want everybody to know you're Texas. You're not scared of nobody. You're here. Bring it on. You're here to kick ass and take names. And if you ain't, damn it, you're gonna go down swinging. Somebody gonna feel it's like if you get jumped in a fight, you say to yourself, "Well, damn it, I may not be able to beat everybody, but somebody's gonna know that I was here." And that's how you got to take the approach, El Presidente. Travis says, Anwar, you enjoyed your trip to Arkansas in 2021. Yes, lots of steaks were served with a side of ribeye. I'm assuming that that's an Arkansas fan, right? Is that an Arkansas fan or not? But if you are asking a serious question, I actually did enjoy my trip to Arkansas a lot better, a lot more than I actually thought I was going to enjoy, to be quite honest with you. I mean, if you just want to know about like Anwar's travel tips, like, yes, I went to the Walmart museum and I got to see things in that downtown area there. I went to that restaurant. I think it's called like Orange. Like, I really think it's something called Orange or something like that. It was really cool. Someone's gotta I can't remember the name of the city, by the way, because it wasn't Fayetteville. It's the other program that's out there. But anyway, it is. Are you talking about Big Orange in Rogers, Arkansas? No, no, no. What's the city? Maybe it's Big Orange. It's right. It's like in a mallish kind of area, and maybe it was in Rogers, but it's in like a mall, a strip mall kind of place. Have a fantastic drinks. I'm gonna look it up. And in fact, because I keep saying it, I need to go into like my files, but it make for horrible YouTube for me to find it. But I'm gonna find it and let you guys know what it is, and give that guy a pump because it really was that kind of cool. Tom G back in the chat as I'm looking for this thing, and I'm gonna find it in the man. What a crazy game that was! What a crazy atmosphere that it was as well. Tom G says, I think the SEC did us a favor. This will be the easiest road schedule for the foreseeable future, in my opinion. And Tom, you are not incorrect as far as that is concerned. And Tom, why don't you go, if Tom is around, so for you guys who don't watch my show, the Drunk Unk Show, usually that comes on Wednesday nights, at 9:00. So please watch that thing in the future. I usually, a lot of times, I have some of my friends with Tom G, El Presidente, they come on, and I'll have fans on. Like I enjoy the comments and the interactions. So a lot of times I do all these shows and it's all these quote unquote experts, but I also like to get the fan interaction portion as well. So go ahead and bring in Tom G as well. Bring in one of my good friends, Tom G, who is a huge Longhorn guy. Well informed. Don't think he's a slouch by any stretch of the imagination. He's got his Longhorn hat on. I see. He's got the trophy case in the background. Give me a mic check, Tom G, so I know you're live.
Hey, Anwar. How's it going, man?
It's good. All right. As you're talking, Tom, I'm going to look for this restaurant because I've got to let everybody know it, because I keep telling them, oh, man, I went to this really cool place, and I'm not telling them where it is. And it's really not adding to the story. So if you can, Tom, this schedule came out. I'm going to be looking for this place in Arkansas. Yep. Give me your thoughts and impressions overall of the schedule.
So first off, if you're a Longhorn fan, you got to be super excited. We haven't had this level of excitement, I don't think, in probably 15 years when it comes to just home games and a home game slate, right? Getting Georgia there, Florida. I mean, we haven't played Florida in Lord knows how long. Getting Florida there, Mississippi State. I don't know. I'm indifferent about that one. Kentucky. I mean, this is going to be some fascinating and great home games. And then, like I put in my super chat, I think the SEC did us a favor. I mean, A&M, Arkansas, Vanderbilt on the road. You couldn't ask for an easier schedule. I mean, it wouldn't be hard to put together a more difficult road schedule if they really wanted to put it to us. The other ironic thing, and you hear everyone talking about this on Orangebloods is, in our first year, we've already got Georgia, two-time defending national champions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Aggie hadn't had him yet at home.
Yeah.
Aggie hadn't even been on the road to him. I don't think they've even played yet. And all their time in the SEC.
No, I'm 100% with you on that one. Okay, so let's talk a little bit because I want to get a good fan perspective on it. And by the way, I've got the restaurant, guys. So I put the phone down. Blake is working on this. He's going to put this on the screen. Tom G, when we go to Arkansas, I've got the spot for us as far as where we're going to go. I went in there to Arkansas with really low expectations, and I walked out saying, okay, not bad, Arkansas. I can do this. Like, this is not bad. And I went to a really good lunch location as well. As Blake works on it, and Blake, whenever you got it ready, just go ahead and pop it on the screen. All right, give me your thought from a rivalry perspective, historic rivalry, of having Arkansas an A&M back, at least for one season.
Yeah, I'm indifferent about Arkansas. It's been really a long time with Arkansas. A&M, I'm super excited to have A&M back. And I'm really glad that we're going to their place the first time too. I mean, Big Brother's coming back into town, and we're going to remind them. We're going to remind them the ass whoopings they used to take. I mean, you go look at that overall career record, and we handily have put it to them more times than not. So I'm personally looking forward to it. I can't wait. I have so many family members that are A&M grads and coworkers. I've longed to get back and just be able to harass the shit out of these people.
All right. Blake's got it for me. This is where I went in Arkansas. Big Orange. So my man who had it on the screen, you're absolutely correct. Big Orange. That burger was fantastic. You look at that bacon right there. Look how good that bacon looked. That's an old fashioned that was there. Was that their Big Orange on fashion? We will do a happy hour there because that place was legit. And it was a guy who ended up being a Longhorn fan, hence the name Big Orange. So just letting you guys know where our hangout spot is going to be. And by the way, here's one thing I was told. Hey, by the way, for all you guys who are Texas fans who getting ready for the SEC, here is actually a pro tip that I was told. And Tom, this is something for you to know as well. Okay, most of these SEC cities are in smaller cities, which means those cities jack up the hotel rates like out the roof for home games. It's kind of like how Lubbock is, right? Look, Lubbock hotels, you're like, wait a second, is this $400 for a fair fund or some $500 for a residence in? Like, are we really doing this right now? When I was covering the NFL, Green Bay was like that as well. Like Green Bay would be like that. Sometimes you have to stay in Appleton. So just be prepared that you either need to book early or get prepared to stay outside of the college city. It's going to be expensive. Just throwing that out there.
All right.
Just
good to know.
And then I know we got a couple more super chats if I'm correct, but let me ask you this, because someone asked me this as well. And you said A&M folks. I know you said you're going to remind the little brother about Big Brother. Scale of 1 to 10, what's the hate for you for A&M?
It's on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably about a 7, where OU is about a 10.
Oh, really? So you hate OU more?
I can't stand OU.
Okay, Tom. I mean, Tom, you can't just leave me like that. You got to give me an explanation as to why.
So, I mean, with OU, right? It was extremely competitive. Even though we own the all-time mark, it's still extremely competitive. And it was, there was some knockout, drag-out fights. And they're a tier above A&M just from a blue blood program. They're on par with Texas as far as that goes. So, I truly hate them. And their fans are despicable. With A&M, I can't say their fans are despicable. Because I have a lot of family members. I can say that they're more like cultists in some ways. But generally they're still decent, good people. And they were never good enough or achieved enough in college football or in college athletics for that matter to create an envy to the point where I hated them.
Okay, I got you. All right, so let's talk about the home games real quick, and I'll hit a couple of super chats. Georgia being at home Florida being at home, Kentucky at home, Mississippi State being home. I imagine Mississippi State doesn't move the needle as much for you as a fan, but what about Kentucky, Georgia, and Florida?
You're right. Mississippi State, I'm indifferent about. Kentucky, super excited to have them come in. They've been good the last few years. They've won 10 games in a row, a couple of years in the SEC in a row. So that's a big deal. So I'm super excited to have them come in and see what they're going to bring to the table. Hope they can bring Ashley Judd with them. Georgia, what's not to be excited about Georgia? And after the Sugar Bowl, they're just going to want to kick our ass because we've got kind of bragging rights right now with them in the last head-to-head matchup. Florida, Florida's still rebuilding. It'll be interesting to see where they're at, but these are big. These are big recruiting games. When we want to dip in and compete against the Georgias for recruits, or definitely as we dip into Florida. These games have some big implications in recruiting, and I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity to do a lot of great things.
Blake, let's do some super chats. Let's go ahead. I remember some that popped up. Agent Z, I like that. It's different. Aggies got an easy schedule. They avoid UGA, Bama, and Tennessee. You think you're nodding your head? You totally agree with that one, Tom?
I think Aggie got the easiest SEC schedule there is. And I love it. I think OU got probably the hardest SEC schedule there is.
So from an Aggie schedule, for their home games, they've got LSU, they've got Texas, they've got Missouri, got Notre Dame. Obviously, that's a non-conference game. Bowling Green. New Mexico State, and the tough McNeese that they'll be facing. Their away games are Auburn, Florida, Mississippi State, South Carolina, and Arkansas. Some tricky games for them, against, like you said, Florida's rebuilding, but Mississippi, South Carolina is kind of a up and coming kind of program. Auburn's always tough, and then Arkansas, so you never know what to expect from them. What was the other super chat? I feel like there was a second one, Blake, or was there? I knew I saw something. The Google Scholar. Yes, back to see you again, Google Scholar. 2024, time to clap them Aggie cheeks. Okay. Plus, my wife is a UF grad from Tampa. Can't wait. Google Scholar, first of all, yes, time to clap them Aggie cheeks. You go ahead and spank that thing if you want to. And your wife is a UF grad from Tampa. From the Tampa Bay area, right? I went to Lakeland High School and the University of South Florida. So, yes, I have to know if your wife and I have run in the same circles or not. I don't know what year she graduated or anything to that effect. But Tampa is kind of like a big, small city. Everybody kind of knows everybody. So ask her, like, hey, Anwar, he went to Lakeland High School, went to USF. He covered the Bucks for a bunch of years. Like, if one of those things should maybe ring a bell. But yes, the only question is, when it's time to place Florida, what are you wearing to the game? And is she going to tell you that you're Gator bait? That's the other thing that you kind of got to get used to. Blake, do we have any others, or is that it? Let me know, Blake. We are all caught up on the super chats. All right, listen, we've been going for almost an hour. And so, Tom, I just want you, now that you know that what your SEC opponents look like, what your 2024 opponents look like, the schedule will come out at another time. Just go ahead and give me kind of your final thoughts on everything that's going to happen today where we're at.
Yeah, so finally glad we got the schedule. There's been all kinds of talk about what it could be and what it would be. Now it's official. Um, I think while it's a tough schedule, I don't think it's, a mountain of a schedule. My biggest concern with our schedule is we will be breaking in a new quarterback during this period of time. That's probably the biggest thing that's on my mind. We will be losing what, 10, 11, 12 folks to the NFL draft. So what I don't want to happen is I don't want to go into the SEC, maybe struggle the first year because of just all the new bodies we're going to be having to play with. And then people, get discouraged or start to say, oh, maybe this wasn't such the right idea after all. So, I think in the long term, it's absolutely the right thing. You want to play with the best. We're going to do that. It's about time these are good measuring stick games. And one thing Texas does do, and I'm curious to see if they can do it consistently now in the SEC, is they get up for big games. And there are a lot of big games on the schedule. And so I'm super excited to see, can we get up multiple weeks in a row, because we will have multiple big games in a row.
By the way, someone sent me something. I got to see if this is true. Nah, I don't know if this. I'm gonna hold off on this. I don't know if this is accurate now, so I'm just gonna wait on that. It'll be interesting. And Blake does say something that is very accurate that you got to remember. Obviously, 12-team playoff in 2024, by the way, which, by the way, if you just, again, one of the things I'm going to write for Sunday, if you guys aren't on Orangebloods, you feel free to go ahead and get on there. One of my thoughts for this upcoming Sunday, I give you guys a sneak peek, a sneak preview into one of the things I'm going to write is what is going to be what defines success once Texas gets into the SEC. I feel like what the definition of success for the longest time has been winning a Big 12 championship. But I really feel like when the Texas goes in the SEC, success will actually be defined by, can you make the playoffs or not? Like that's going to be the barometer. And I'm going to give you some good NFL examples of things to that effect. But, it's going to be that team there. Like, Tom G, quick quiz. Like who won the NFC West last year?
San Fran, right?
Okay, who won the the NFC Central? See, and I can go down the list, right? NFC. What that's going to be is at some point we're going to say to ourselves, I don't know, we don't really care like who won some of these conferences. What's going to matter is who made the playoffs. And that's where I feel like the conversation is going to be headed going forward. So anyway, going to write that on Sunday. Been thinking about that. And that's going to be one of the topics that I get into. Listen, the SEC is right around the corner, guys. Now, there's going to have to be the focus on the Big 12 and getting through this Big 12 season and all that entails. And we will talk about that. We'll analyze it. We'll have all the conversations about it. We've got Big 12 media days that are coming around. I think it's the second week of July. So that's right around the corner. Training camp will get started in beginning of August. And then, of course, you got Rice that's going to be starting in September. So you've got a lot of that's going to be there, a lot of meat on the bone, but you can't help but be excited about what's coming in 2024. I mean, it's kind of like, that you're about to get divorced, and you got that, that hot person waiting on you on the other end, and you just got to get through this divorce. You just got to get through these procedures. As soon as Texas could go ahead and sign the paperwork and get to the divorce, oh, there she is. There's that dime. We call her SEC. She's going to be waiting for us, and we cannot wait. So for my main man, Blake, for Tom G, for El Presidente, who couldn't make it here, for Jeff Ketchum, who's enjoying himself at vacation, everybody in Orangebloods staff, thank you for joining. This has been breaking news. Enjoy the conversation. Enjoy the dialogue. We will see you soon on the Texas Longhorns Football Channel. You guys take care.